Hey sketchy friends, so today I would like to talk about food sketching. I find it really interesting seeing what urban sketchers sketch, and especially when it comes to seeing how urban sketchers interpret their food and their beverages and even their dining experiences in their sketchbooks as well. Food sketching from life and on location, it can be a bit of a challenge, especially if your food has just been served to you hot and you just really, really want to eat it. So there are a couple of solutions to this challenge. One is that you can just decide to only sketch cold food. And the second is just sketch faster. So there's actually no better impetus to learn how to sketch quickly than your tasty food getting colder and colder by the second. I think it's actually a really good kind of exercise to get you to sketch faster. If you're seeing that yummy food getting cold in front of you, what if you could get your sketching skills to that point where you can capture what you want in your sketchbook really quickly and with minimal fuss? This will open a lot of doors for you when you do want to draw bigger, more complex things as well. So sketching food can develop your eye so that you're catching the essence of the subject, but with minimal lines, and you're doing it right there and then. Sketching food can also help to develop your observation skills, as the food needs to be recognizable, ideally, and perhaps even appealing too. Well, if it looks appealing to start with, that is. Hopefully it does. Sketching food actually tells a story in itself. What you make at home, what snacks you buy on the go, when, where, and what you eat at a restaurant. Food illustrations can actually be the subject of an entire sketchbook if you would like them to be. I remember seeing, and this is going back quite a few years now, but I remember Liz Steele started a project of sketching the food that she was eating each day. I think she had to stick to some kind of specific diet or something. And by sketching her food, it sort of replaced a written log that you might usually keep when you're doing something like that. It just helped her to be more conscious of the food that she was eating as well, because she had to sketch it every time. So I think that's quite a fun idea. It might be a little bit too intense for most of us, but it's a fun idea nonetheless. So I'm going to talk about 7 tips on how to sketch food at the end of this video, but I thought it would be fun first off to check out some examples and just really get inspired by other people's food sketches. So most of you know by now I'm a big fan of Liz Steele. I think we all are, really. And I love the way that she can just sketch so quickly and loosely, yet you can completely tell what the subject matter is. And I think I read somewhere, maybe it was in the caption of this photo, I can't remember, but how she manages to sketch her dinner but not let it get cold. And this is something she said: the number one rule for me when sketching my meals is that I have to eat my food while it's still hot or warm. As a minimum, I get the main edges and shapes down, then I can start to eat. And I often sketch while I eat, brush in my left hand, fork in my right hand. That's definitely dedication. So I love this example from urban sketcher Paul Wang. It's super colourful with bold lines, real strong geometry, and it's got a bit of more of an abstract feel to it as well. It's just really fun to look at. And Paul's sketch is a great example that your sketch can be playful, and realism is not always something you have to shoot for. Don't forget to play and exercise your artistic license when you're sketching food as well. And this is another example from Paul Wang, and I really love his use of colour in this particular sketch. In the caption to this sketch, he encourages distorting and exaggerating the things we see. A final example from Paul Wang is, I just love his little notations as to what's in his food. It's just a great way to give a sketchbook spread a bit of a journal feel as well, which I'm a big fan of. So similarly to Liz Steele, Suhita Shirodkar has an incredible way of sketching and painting loosely. So this isn't exactly food, but it is a sketch of condiments, ketchup, mustard, etc. And it's obviously still food related, so don't overlook sketching ingredients or cutlery or anything to do with food when you're thinking about food sketching. This particular sketch, it just really inspires me to go and grab my sketchbook and give this style a go. It feels almost like direct watercolor straight onto the page. Yeah, it just looks super fun. So before even reading the caption of this particular sketch, I immediately recognised it was tiger prawns. Even though it's super loose and a little more on the abstract side, it's still recognisable. This example by Santi Salas, everyone knows, I love Santi's sketching style as well. It kind of feels a bit naive, but yeah, it's still really exciting. And the sketchbook page feels like an intimate memo to himself of where he was, what he was eating and drinking, and it even includes a little colour swatch chart, which he does quite often, which I always think is really fun. And there's just something simple about this, but it's just really beautiful. And then another example from Santi, done in colour pencils at a restaurant in Barcelona, I believe. Again, it's just such a fun style, and I really love his text as well, the way he writes. This final example from Santi is he's sketched a Friday night dinner. Not only the food, but the table, the people, and the whole dinner experience. And he's annotated things, and I love the way how he's portrayed the table, how the people are upside down below and stuff like that. It's just really fun and really, really cool. This example is by Danny Hawk. I always love Danny's beautiful, clean illustration style. I don't really see too much food sketching from him, but this is just one example of him doing so. And yeah, just really nice, crisp graphic style from him. And this is one from Felix Scheinberger, another favourite artist. And another one that I don't see draw food too much, but I did find this sketch that he did on his Instagram feed from a workshop. And I think it's really interesting to see the different sketches styles come through, even when sketching a plate of food. Like, I look at the sketch, I can instantly tell it's by Felix Scheinberger. He just puts so much character into those fish. It's so much fun. Marie Silva, I haven't mentioned her for a long time. If any of you have seen my video on sketching on toned paper, she definitely features a lot in that video, just because her work is just so beautiful and her Instagram feed is so beautifully curated as well. I believe this is a Stillman & Byrne Nova sketchbook that she uses here. And I could literally just reach out and eat that carrot cake right off the page. A, it's my favourite cake, and B, it just looks so yummy. And the way she's rendered it is just so beautiful. And look at that spoon as well. It's just so beautifully done. And where she's using the toned paper, she can obviously add all the little highlights and also the white icing on top of the cake. And here is another example as well, blueberry cake. Just looks absolutely divine. And a third example from Marie, where she has got her breakfast here. She's got a cup of coffee and some toast. Yeah, just really, really fun. Okay, so moving on to tips for food sketching. A great place to start is to set up a little still life for yourself. So if you look at this example from Felix Scheinberger, he was obviously doing a workshop demonstration, but something like this, just set up a little still life for yourself. And I would recommend doing something cold or something that's not cooked so that you can take your time and there's not too much pressure. The important aspect of this tip is just to start drawing from life. Just get some things out, set them up, and just practice sketching from life. It is so important that you do this. It's totally different drawing from a photo than it is drawing from life. And this one is stress-free, pressure-free. Just do it in your own home. And it's actually one of my daily prompts for my 7-day Urban Sketching at Home challenge. If you haven't tried it yet, it's a great place to start if you're new to urban sketching and you'd like to practice at home before heading out into the world. It is totally free. And I send you an email each day with a little challenge and a video of me completing the sketch as well. So tip number 2 is try sketching that same still life, but in a variety of different ways. So try a realistic approach, and then try something more along the lines of Paul Wang or Suhita or Liz Steele. Like, start loosening up and just being a bit more expressionistic with it. Just have lots of fun with it, and check out the examples that we've looked at in this video and pick 2 or 3 and try and replicate their style while still sketching the actual still life in front of you. you might actually find that you feel more comfortable with one style or another. It might be the realistic style, or it might actually be the looser, more freeform approach. Just try and experiment. Even at this early stage, if you're just new to food sketching, still try and experiment, because I find that's where the fun is, trying different styles and approaches. So tip number 3 is a bit more of an extension really, and it's actually to try and experiment with different mediums. So as well as trying different styles, try different mediums. Maybe you are more confident at sketching food with pencils, colour pencils or graphite pencils. Maybe you find drawing directly with ink or a brush pen is easier for you or more intuitive for you. Or maybe you like laying down shapes of watercolour first and then drawing on top. So try out some different mediums as well. So tip number 4 is, once you've explored some different styles and mediums, exchange your still life for actually recording real meals at home. So that might mean that there's a bit more of a time pressure attached to them. So if you've cooked hot food, for example, the time pressure will be wanting to sketch it and eat it before it gets cold. Even if you've made cold food, maybe you've made it for your partner or your family. So maybe you've got a limited time to sketch it before someone else scoffs it. But yeah, try and introduce a bit of time pressure to yourself, whatever that looks like for you in your life. Try that out and see how that goes. Tip number 5, moving further along this process of how to get better at food sketching. Now you're comfortable with sketching and recording your food at home, got to get out there, get out into the public world. So you can go and visit a cafe, for example. I recommend sort of taking things slowly and ordering simple food that doesn't require the time or doesn't have any time pressure attached to it. So something like a cake or a pastry or a sandwich, or if you want to be healthy, a salad. Once you're comfortable with doing cold food out in public, then you can move on to ordering hot food or something else that requires a time pressure. You might even want to try out what Liz Steele does and sketch with one hand and eat with the other. And then moving on after that, tip number 6, I would say it's time to try sketching when you're with other people. I don't know about you, but I still actually hesitate to sketch in front of other people, such as family or friends. Not Duncan so much, my husband, but in a group of family or friends, I'm still battling with it being, am I being antisocial? But as urban sketchers though, you know, we are compelled to record the world around us, and this won't always be convenient. Besides, I feel like once the ice is broken and it becomes known that you may wish to draw in your sketchbook over dinner with friends and you can still hold a conversation, I think they'll get used to it. If not, just get rid of your current friends and replace them with urban sketchers. I'm joking, sort of. Okay, tip number 7, last kind of challenge maybe, last exercise to try, is try and capture an entire dining experience like we saw from Santi Salas. Sketch the table, sketch the things on it, and even try and sketch the people around it. That would be the ultimate challenge, I think, when it comes to food sketching. So I really hope you guys have found this video interesting and inspiring, and I hope it leads you to start sketching your food adventures. And if you do, I would really love to see, so please do make sure to tag me over on Instagram. You can tag Tarias_sketchy_adventures. Anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you next week for another video.